and I'm going to have to break this seal to speak. I'm going to call the meeting to order. First item of business is closed meeting. Be it resolved, the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby enters into closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following. Section 2.2-3711, 1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body to wit Economic Development Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Secretary?
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Fitchikowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
We are in closed session. Next item is coming out of closed meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Secretary?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Chair Fitchikowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item is certification of closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Secretary?
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Fitchikowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, next item is invocation and pledge, and our county administrator will.
Yes, sir. If we could rise for a moment of silence, and then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Next item is presentations, recognitions, and awards, and we have up Virginia Department of Transportation. Welcome, Mr. Clark.
Good evening. Well, it's been a while since I've been before the board due to various holiday and your schedule and agenda. And even though there's been quite a bit of time, there isn't really a whole much to report due to the weather that has been taking up most of our time over the last several months. So I asked my superintendents kind of what they've been up to, and they said snow, 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 snow. So you all have seen it and lived it, and we're just trying the best we can. It seems to hit on the weekends a lot, which is one thing, but as far as having a little bit lighter traffic. But really, that's all that we've kind of been up to. I don't have a whole lot to report from the maintenance side of things. We have been able to get a little bit of patching done because there has been some decent weather, and we can do some cold patching. We've done some in Preston Forest. We've done some on Huffville Road and on High Rock Hill Road, out kind of towards Floyd County. We have been trying to get some brush cutting. I even looked at some December notes, and even that was a lot of weather-related debris cleanup because we had a lot of flooding and requests from people to come clean out some ditches where stuff had washed in. So most everything we've been doing is one storm or weather-related event or another. So I won't get into a lot of that. Some of the other things that were going on, though, Yellow Sulphur Road is the next project on the secondary 6-year plan. It's getting through the right-of-way. The right-of-way is always usually the trickiest things. There's a lot of property owners, and so we're still hoping to have that out to contract this summer. So finally we're getting Yellow Sulphur. We've studied the Meadow Creek through truck restriction request. They'd like to put a not recommended sign first on that and see how that works. So I told them, better something than nothing. So we're going to try that and study that and see how it goes. I'm not sure the schedule for getting that sign up. And we have a 6-year plan public hearing every spring, and there is an opportunity for probably another road to go on the plan. So I'd like to schedule that public hearing for the May 10th meeting. I've been talking with county staff. I think that's the date that will work well with the board and the other public hearings and the budget stuff you all have to deal with. So that'll be May 10th, and we'd like to get maybe a resolution at least by the second meeting in May or the first one in June. But I don't know how we would do it. And I know in the past we've ridden around together, and I don't know if that's something we can do anymore. Maybe we can take a lot of vehicles or something like that. But any kind of review or something like that, you maybe do separately with me at some point. But if there's any kind of research or something you'd like to do on a road getting into the plan, I'd be glad to do that. The next one, we have Yellow Sulphur is the next one on there. I believe Taylor Hollow is next on that plan, and we've got a small section of Craig Mountain Road in there as well, and Poplar Hollow. Poplar Hollow is on there right now. So I think those are your roads currently on the 6-year plan. They are all unpaved roads because most of all your money allocated to secondary construction is earmarked for unpaved roads. There's very little that can be used for anything other than unpaved road. So we'll be looking for another unpaved road to add to the plan. And just as a kind of an informational thing, this is kind of off just sort of normal business kind of thing that we do, but we have started holding just phone meetings with county staff on a regular basis. We have a very good communication with county staff, but we've made it a little bit more regular than that. Twice a month on Thursdays, we'll have a phone call between me, my assistant, our land use assistant resident engineer, Jesse Miller, and county staff. And we've had one so far. It's been very productive. There's an agenda, and we talk about stuff that's, we talked a lot about smart scale stuff, revenue sharing, project, things like that. So it's a good opportunity for us to talk on a regular basis with the county staff. So that's all I have as far as updates. Like I said, really, there's not a lot other than fighting the weather that's been going on.
Well, Chris has done a good job while you were out.
Well, yeah, I did send him that one.
Yeah, he promised us all kind of things.
Yeah, I'm
so
sure.
Somehow you have to make them happen, but,
Believe it or not, Chris is usually the no guy. I'm the one that promises everything.
well, I'm sure that we probably got a few items from everybody, so we'll just go around the
Okay.
room. Supervisor Bone?
On Mount Tabor, I think near Coal Hollow, supposedly there's a humongous pothole on the side of the road that's probably eating into the road. And then the second thing,
Excuse me, Mount Tabor near where? Near
Coal Bank Hollow
Near
Road.
Colvin Hollow.
And then up Mount Tabor a little bit, not to the pipeline, but before the pipeline, they're filling a sinkhole. A lot of the dirt is on the road, making it slippery for cars.
Right.
So I don't know how instrumental you all were with working with MVP to keep the road clean, but it's sort of the same thing. I don't know if there's anything that you can do.
We can lean on them a little bit. It's part of their permit that they have to keep
Okay,
things
great.
clean. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Blevins?
Just some following up on the speed study on Route 114. I don't know, Chris
We don't
said,
have, we've been discussing it kind of informally on that, and we're looking at some sections. I'll see where they are on that. They don't do a whole lot of things in the wintertime because you're not sure if you can catch a good day to get a good speed study. But I know they've looked at it kind of on an informal, and we've studied in the past. So he used a lot of his kind of older data, which is probably still good. But I'll follow up on that.
and also I had to talk with you a little bit in front of the mall area, the no turn on the red arrows.
Right.
Somebody's going to.
They were, yeah, that's a sign that they can put up. Those red arrows, you're not supposed to turn.
Correct, no turn on a red solid arrow, and somebody's going to get slammed coming out of the marketplace there. So I see people not realizing that they can't make that red.
Okay.
And then there was one citizen that had an issue about rough road out, and that was in Reiner. But he wanted to, I think he's been in discussion with VDOT about possibly adding that to a rural rustic. Something that supervisors might want to
Yep, that's one we can
consider.
look at for the 6-year plan.
Okay. Thank you, and as always, thank you, you and your crew for keeping our roads clear and safe. I know that is, it's dangerous for them to be out driving in the weather and keeping the roads clear, and we certainly do appreciate them on Saturday and Sunday mornings doing everything they can for us.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Supervisor DeMonts.
I do not have any questions. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Supervisor Shepherd.
I have a few. First, I know Chris kind of answered the question, and I think I discussed it with you, and I don't know if, I can't remember what the answer was I got from you, but I've had another request about painting the lines on Mount Zion Road. And Chris kind of leaned toward, he said, don't take him at 100%, but that they took some of those roads off of the list to save money. But there was a process you could go through to see if they would take them back on. We can figure out what that process is.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see if he's talked to them about that process. They don't rev up their line painting obviously till spring, but
Right.
they're getting their list together now. So
Right. I've had another request to have Bobcat Lane paved. And it's the lady that's got the brand new house right there on the corner. She's the one that called. So
okay, that may be,
I told her I'd talk to you about
yep,
it.
that may be one to consider. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That may be one. Is that an unpaved road, right? Yeah. So that may be one that we consider at the 6-year plan.
Yeah. Well, I talked to you, I think, several years ago about it, and you said there just wasn't enough traffic on it or something at the time.
That may be because we had a request from staff to look at Huckleberry Lane, and it does not have enough traffic on Huckleberry Lane.
And that's what I told her, but I told her I would discuss it with you.
It's got to have 50 vehicles a day, but I'll check on that.
All right. And I know I saw a request, a citizen's request for a speed study on Millstone Ridge. And I actually had one of the residents call me about that. And she was kind of perplexed about why it was even wanting to go through that process. But
Well,
have you seen that?
because first I assumed there was no speed limit on it. There is a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on it.
There
We're not
is.
going to post it for lower than that.
That's what I told her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said it's not feasible, or it's
Right.
not even legal. And then I think the county staff spoke with you about doing a surface treat on Huckleberry Trail Road.
Yes, that's when I was just, yeah. It does not have 50 vehicles a day.
Okay.
So you can't use secondary unpaved road money. There's like I said, 95% of your money is earmarked for unpaved roads with 50 vehicles a day or more. So the only other way to do it would be to use your telecommunication fee, but you probably don't have enough in that right now to do Huckleberry.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, I really appreciate the brush cutting that crew did, man. That looks wonderful. Can they come back?
Yeah, everybody, yeah, that's always very popular. We could probably do that, 3/4 of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they'll be back at some point.
Okay,
But
good.
yeah,
Good.
get a list ready and
That's good information.
I'll have them send, yeah,
And just thank you for everything else.
sure.
Supervisor King.
I just got a couple of things, and, well, one of them was over Rough Road, and I appreciate Supervisor Blevins bringing that up. The other one is Baines Chapel Road. It has potholes. I mean, they're deep. Wonder if we could get somebody to look at that one.
Yep, we'll get that.
All right, that's all I had, but I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Vice Chair Biggs.
I don't have any questions, but thanks for all you're doing, and thanks for keeping those roads clear.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, can I ask one more?
Sure.
I forgot, but not this weekend snow, but the weekend before, one or the other anyway. The plows took out all the mailboxes on Mount Tabor by Coal Bank Hollow, I think, is what they were talking about. Thanks.
Yeah, we put up
Sometimes that
mailboxes
happens.
before, but that's, yeah,
I hear you.
that's not a, It's not as uncommon as I'd like it to be.
David, the only real road issue that I have is one that I guess about a month ago they made a pass to patch a lot of the potholes on Allegheny Springs, and they did. But one has opened up on the bridge that goes over the South Fork. It's what I would call near the south entrance to, I'm getting brain dead here. Trying to think of the name of the road. Somebody shouted it out. No. Man, I should have wrote it down. I don't know why I can't think of it, but it's that horseshoe road that's about halfway down Allegheny Springs Road. It connects to Allegheny Springs in two places. One end is private.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I blanked on it now, too.
That little bridge.
Right by the church there.
That bridge right there, there's a hole that is formed that will shake your teeth when you hit it. And it looks like it might be either right at the end wall of the bridge, or if that bridge has an end wall, right in that vicinity anyways. So it might be something that somebody wants to take a look at just to see if it's more than just a pothole.
Right, yeah, it could be a sinkhole kind of thing.
Yeah, it could be damage to the bridge, but,
Yeah.
and you know, talking about the 6-year plan, this is probably something that most of us that have more rural districts hear on a regular basis. And one of the big issues that I have, and I'm sure others do too, is, as you have explained to us, we have still about 100 miles of unpaved road in Montgomery County, and we just do not have the money, nor VDOT have the money to take care of all of them. So a lot of us have been looking at the really, really bad ones, and we've brought 2 of them onto the 6-year plan just because of that. But we still hear from the others on some of the other roads that have a larger traffic volume, and they're still wondering when is it going to be their turn, and it's getting to be pretty hard to explain to them how this works and ask them for more patience when many of them have been waiting 20 years for something to happen. But do you have a formula that you look at roads a little differently? Do you look at, are they too narrow? Do they not have drainage? Or do you just look at the number of vehicles that travel on it in a day and kind of say, well, that one probably should be done first?
For paving under the 6-year plan,
Yeah.
now that's a board priority list. Whichever ones the board wants to put on, as long as it's got 50 vehicles a day, it can go on the 6-year plan.
Okay, well, I was kind of hoping that you would take the hit on that one, but I guess that's on me. Well, we
So
try
you
to
can
do.
blame it on many, many past boards, because Yellow Sulphur has been on there.
Yeah.
I told Dan Brew I won't retire until I get Yellow Sulphur paved.
Well, that's good, so we'll have
That
you
is
for a
the
few
highest
more
volume
years.
unpaved road in Montgomery County,
Yeah,
and it's still not
yeah.
hard
Well,
surfaced all the way through.
I get probably more calls about Willis Hollow than I do just about any other road, and there are quite a few people that live on that road, and the potholes on a gravel road, they just open up, especially when you have years like we've had.
Right.
With the rain and the snow, and it's just always something coming down, so, well, I guess we'll just keep plugging at it, but, and I'm sure that's also a reason why these brush crews are appreciated so much too, because the trees and the brush are growing so fast that I don't think anybody could keep up with them. But-
True, yeah.
And I do have one other issue, but I'm going to probably send you an email, and it has to do with the unpaved section of Mount Pleasant Road. I have some news that you're going to be surprised by, but
Okay,
I'll send you an email on that. But
great.
is there any other follow-up questions? All right, well, thank you very much, David, and good luck with the rest of winter.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, while we are still under presentations, recognitions, and awards, one of those awards came in today, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of step out of line here and go ahead and present it, because this presentation is from the Virginia Association of Counties, and it goes to Sherry M. Blevins for, it's her Certificate of Program Completion for the Chairperson's Institute.
Thank you.
So we're going to present that to you. Good job. All right, next item up on the list is our public address. Before we start, I want to go ahead and go through some of these instructions on this. A public address sign-up sheet was available outside the meeting room. Speakers were requested to put their name and address and phone number and the subject matter on the sign-up sheet, but it's not necessary. If you haven't done that, we will still like to hear from you. Following the names on the sign-up sheet, other speakers will be allowed, so don't have to worry about getting your name on there. Each speaker has 4 minutes, whether speaking as an individual or representative. Now, the timer that is on the lectern in the front there has some lights on it. And Craig, do you know when the yellow light comes on when there's 30 seconds left or a
I believe
minute?
that's correct. The one on the far left is like greenish, and it's on for the first 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, then it goes yellow for the last 30 seconds, and then it's red, and when it's red, that's your time.
Yeah, we certainly don't mean to be cruel to anybody, but you need to stay within that 4-minute time limit. So when you start, the green light will be on 30 seconds before the red light comes on. The yellow light will come on. So that's your opportunity to go ahead and finish up with whatever you're saying. So we would appreciate if everybody would obey those rules. And when you're speaking, please direct your speaking to the chair or to the other board members. And this is not an opportunity to debate with anybody in the audience, and it's not an opportunity to ask questions of the board or to debate with the board. This is your opportunity to say what's on your mind and what your concerns are, and we're going to listen. And that's what it's all about. So we have 3 people that have been signed up. And I see you all got the mask message, so you got to wear the mask when you come up here. And if you have any written statements, pictures, or whatever that you want the board to look at, you'll need to give them to the board secretary, and she's right over here to my right, your left. So if you have anything that needs to be handed out. But with that said, we'll go ahead and start with the first, and it's Randy Wirtz. And again, when you come up, just go ahead and give your name and your address.
Hi, folks. I'm Randy Wirtz, and I live at 710 Independence Boulevard in Christiansburg. And I appreciate you allowing me to speak this evening. Chairman Fidzikowski, I knew I got that right all day today. Fidzikowski.
Perfectly fine.
Thank you very much. And board members, and I'm going to read this instead of just doing it freestyle because it'll take me longer than 4 minutes. So let me just make sure I get through this. Again, I'm here tonight to speak in support of Sheriff Parton. After I read a copy of the Roanoke Times article of January 28, 21, where some Blacksburg Town Council members made some disparaging comments about the sheriff, I felt something had to be said. First of all, there was a Blacksburg Town Council member questioning a county official, and I can't understand that. Certainly they have enough issues in Blacksburg to deal with their own issues there and not have to worry about county matters. It's simply a political hack job by somebody there, and I say this for a couple of reasons. It came at a time when all liberals and Democrats felt they could take conservatives and Republicans for a small group of people, what a small group of people did at the Capitol. They said they and their friends, the mainstream media, including the Roanoke Times, take the opportunity to do as much damage as they can. They forgot to mention the damage their groups, Antifa and Black Lives Matter, made this past summer, destroying cities and burning down minority businesses. Also, they failed to mention the group of Antifa thugs that were at the Capitol that night, dressed as Trump supporters, that were caught on video breaking the windows of the Capitol. A video clearly showed this, but the news media will not show it. There were thousands and thousands of conservatives at that rally that day and to show support for the president, and I would have been there if I could have. I watched the president's presentation, and nowhere in the speech did it mention or encourage anyone to attack the Capitol. That is a fact. The vast majority of the people at the rally left D.C. as soon as the speech was completed. When conservatives have rallies in D.C. or around the country, they always clean up after themselves and never cause problem with the police. This action was outside the norm and had been planned in advance. With Antifa involved, I would bet they had a big part of it. Also, let's consider the comments of Maxine Waters and other Democrats in the Washington area encouraging people to abuse conservatives and Republicans while they were out at restaurants. What about the incident here in Virginia where Sarah Sanders and her family members were forced out of the restaurant? It's okay for this to happen if the news media won't indicate, why it was not. There is a double standard now, and only if you are a member of the Democratic Party do you have free speech and to be able to promote your political beliefs. As I have mentioned many times, my wife and family came to this country from Cuba. They saw the takeover of the socialists, and they see the same thing going on right here in this country.
Thank you, Mr. Wirtz.
Okay.
Your time's up. Thank you, though. Okay, next person up is Steve Spradlin.
Steve Spradlin, 1553 Old Well Road, Montgomery County. I'll go ahead and get the jump on you. I'd like to address the board tonight regarding a Roanoke Times article, January 28th, 2021, titled "Blacksburg Council Members Inquire About Local Police Attendance at January 6th Capitol Riot." The article states Blacksburg Councilman John Bush inquired to Montgomery County Sheriff Hank Parton as to whether any county deputies took part in the storming of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. A second member of Blacksburg Town Council, Mayor Leslie Hager-Smith, also questioned Sheriff Parton on this same subject. So to me, this appears to be one jurisdiction, Blacksburg Town Council, questioning another jurisdiction's, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, actions. Sheriff Parton's response to the members of Town Council read, "I am not aware of anyone from our organization who was either involved with the events on January 6th or was in D.C. I have no intention of conducting any inquiries or investigations of my personnel in regards to this matter." Mr. Bush, I can't get air. Mr. Bush decided he was not happy with the response, with the sheriff's response, and voiced his displeasure to local media outlet. Now let me be perfectly clear. I think the people who broke the law on January 6th at the Capitol should be fully prosecuted. By the same token, I think the people who broke the law this past summer by illegally taking over buildings, burning and looting government buildings and private businesses should also be prosecuted, something I don't think I have heard Mr. Bush come out and publicly support. That's called being consistent in your beliefs. As I read the complete article, Bush made the same inquiry to Blacksburg Police Chief Anthony Wilson. I think under the circumstances, Chief Wilson is doing an outstanding job. Blacksburg Town Manager Mark Verneal, Wilson's boss, responded that the locality has no information or reason to believe any Blacksburg Police Department personnel took part in the unlawful events at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, isn't the statement from Town Manager Mark Verneal in essence the same response as the response from Sheriff Parton? Parton said he was not aware of anyone from the sheriff's office involved in the events of January 6th. He also said he would not inquire or investigate any further any of his personnel regarding this matter, which in my humble taxpayer opinion would have been a waste of taxpayer dollars and sheriff's department time. Therefore, I have to question Bush's motives for creating this very public spectacle and singling out the sheriff of Montgomery County, in light of the fact that Blacksburg Town Council has zero oversight, provides zero funding to support the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. So I'm left to conclude that the motivation for this spectacle was sorely political, since the Roanoke Times article made a point of reference that Mr. Bush was a Democrat and Sheriff Parton was a Republican. I believe Mr. Bush and Blacksburg Town Council could better serve town residents by asking Chief Wilson if he needs any more support from town council in light of some ongoing unsolved crimes within town limits. I find it particularly interesting that Mr. Bush had apparently made no demand of Virginia Tech officials to investigate the illegally snowball fight that took place on the drill field last Sunday. He really should be consistent with his demands for investigations, or at least keep his demands focused on the jurisdiction he represents. So I would ask you, the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors, although you have no direct oversight of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, but you appropriate some funding, I ask that by resolution or official letter from the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors to the Blacksburg Town Council, state your full support and confidence in Sheriff Parton and Montgomery County Sheriff's Office employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Stacy Quesenberry.
Hello, my name is Stacy Quesenberry and I reside at 1399 Merrimack Road in Montgomery County. I'm here tonight to comment regarding the recent Roanoke Times article regarding our Sheriff Hank Parton and the Blacksburg Town Council. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, graduating from Blacksburg High School and Radford University. Recently, myself and my children became the 4th and 5th generations to farm in Montgomery County. My children attend NRCC, one through the ACE program, so I want to thank the board for their support of that program. And 2 of my other children attend Montgomery County Public Schools. Why am I telling you this? To convey to you my stake in ensuring Montgomery County is a great place to visit, work, and live. When I first read this article, I was dismayed. Over my lifetime, I have observed our local governments work together and disagree on many different issues. However, I do not ever recall 2 members of town council singling out a group of county employees as they have our sheriff and deputies. Make no mistake, I condemn any and all illegal actions that occurred in our capital on January 6th. Sheriff Parton indicated he was not aware of any deputies participating in any illegal activities that occurred that day. His comment was very similar to the comment conveyed by Mark Verneal on behalf of the Town of Blacksburg Police Department. However, Mr. Bush only took exception to our sheriff's response. That leaves me to question the reasoning for the members of Town Council attempting to shed our sheriff in his office in a bad light. Over the years, I've had situations where I've had to call on our sheriff's office. Every time they arrived quickly and went above and beyond to provide assistance. In 2017, my 9-year-old son broke his leg. It was a traumatic event for all of us. When members of our sheriff's office heard, they showed up at our home with balloons and a card. One of the deputies spoke with him at length about breaking his own leg and telling him about his recovery and being able to ride a motorcycle after healing. This spoke volumes to my son, and I saw a change in him as he began to give 110% to physical therapy after that visit, and he's now fully recovered. Sheriff Pardon has encouraged our deputies to establish these kinds of relationships with our young people across the county, and I know it has had a favorable impact. Like many in our county, I have a first responder scanner in my home. I have listened as many horrific events in our county have unfolded. Not once have I ever heard a deputy question someone's political affiliation before they race to a scene. Almost every week, I hear Montgomery County deputies back up officers of Blacksburg and Christiansburg and vice versa. Maybe the Blacksburg Town Council could take a lesson from these fine men and women on working together. Instead of the decisive message sent to our sheriff and his department from the Town Council, the message should have been, "Sheriff, I trust you to continue to handle your department in a professional manner. I trust that our men and women in the sheriff's office have and will continue to uphold the laws of our land." I encourage you as members of our elected Board of Supervisors to send a message of support for our sheriff and our outstanding deputies to the Blacksburg Town Council. Please do not let this attempt at creating decisiveness in our county stand. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we had signed up, but if anybody else would like to come forward, all you have to do is state your name and your address, and you would have 4 minutes. Seeing no one coming forward, I'm going to go ahead and close public address. Next item is addendum.
No addendum this evening, sir.
All right. Items of consent.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Secretary?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Sheriff Fizikowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Wow, we had a lot on there, didn't we? All right. Next item we had on the schedule was to go into work session.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, and as I shared with the board earlier today, the town manager in Blacksburg and I talked about this community land trust presentation at the end of last week and again today. There's some additional information that we want to make sure that we've got available and that staff's readily prepared to review with the elected bodies, and we're not quite there yet. The Regional Commission is working on finalizing a regional housing study, and that's one piece that we really want to have in front of you before we begin this discussion on the community land trust. So we will be deferring this probably till late March, early April, when we've had time to have a presentation on the housing study and are ready to come back with more information.
Okay, is there any action the board needs to take, Marty? Okay, that'll be deferred.
Thank you.
And next item is old business, which happens to be the same thing. I guess we're going to defer on that also.
No, the old business is a boundary line adjustment agreement with the town of Blacksburg, and that is something the board has been working on previously. Marty, is that?
Sorry. We had a public hearing a few months ago on this, and it's come back. The town of Blacksburg's approved their agreement. Basically, it's just 10 acres owned by the Jones Living Trust, which is Douglas and Helen Jones, and the property is obviously on the town border there on Yellow Sulphur Road. And what the property will be, I think one of the reasons they want to go into town is because they want to get water and sewer to the property. And I think the town has stated that the property will most likely be zoned as office. So if it is an office complex, the county would not lose any taxes. In fact, we would probably gain taxes because of the investment that would be made on the real estate that's currently there, which is undeveloped. So this is before you. What this does is it authorizes, approves the agreement, and then the next step is I would file documents in the court where the court would approve the boundary change, and then the change is sent to Richmond. And then after that, that 10 acres will be in the town. It's still in the county, but it'd be in the town as well. So.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? Hearing none. Madam Secretary?
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair Frizikowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item up is new business. Renew the Home Consortium Cooperation Agreement.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Secretary?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Chair Frizikowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item up is the Montgomery County Public Schools release deferred of the fiscal year 21 budget funds.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss. I have a few questions I'd like to ask.
Tommy, you want to come on up and try to field some of these questions?
How you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. Just a couple quick questions.
Okay.
This money is what we deferred from last year's budget, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, last year's budget, is any of this money right here that we have? I know when you give the school employees the 3% raise, it didn't go all the way back to July.
Correct. We went back to January 1st.
Right. Some of this money here in our last year budget, I think it, would you say 1.7 million for 6 months,
Correct.
3%?
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna take 1.7 out of this and go back to July as our budget said last year? What we-
At this time, there has not been any discussion with the school board on doing something like that. The intent here was we had held those funds in kind of abatement, not knowing what was going to happen with the state sales tax and its
Right.
impact on the schools. The other thing that was a concern with our revenue was that a large portion of our revenues is based on the average daily membership, so the number of students that are in the school system. We've seen a significant increase in our enrollment. Last year at this time, we were sitting at about 9,800 students. Today, we're at about 9,500 students. The governor came out on December 17th and it stayed with what's called a no-loss funding. So in FY21, it's $2.34 million. That money ensures that the revenues we're going to receive from the state is equal or greater than what we budgeted in our FY21 budget that was adopted by our school board and by the Board of Supervisors. In FY22, his budget believes that our ADM will go up and that the no-loss funding is $2.046 million, roughly. So there's the money there to meet everything. There would be the money that could be used to go back, to pay adjustments that could be used for stipend, could be used for whatever purpose our school board has. But right now, there's been no discussion from the administration with the school board, nor has there been any action taken by the school board to, do anything back to July 1st or to do anything else. I think that will come up later. Right now, there seems to be a lot of focus on our side and the board on changing our instructional phase. And, it'd be something maybe could come up after that March 2nd discussion that we have with our school board on that subject.
Where I'm going with this is, on our last budget, we put that in there for the 3% raises.
Yes, sir.
And I met with several school employees, and one of the things they asked me is how come the county got back to July and they didn't? Well, it was in our budget for last round.
Correct.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, to start their 3% in July.
That's correct. That was correct.
So, and I told them, when you come and ask for this money, I would bring this up.
And I will gladly take it back to our administration.
It was in the budget.
It was. I mean, it was in the budget for 3.4 million.
Right,
But up until these funds became available, it wouldn't have been possible
right.
to have gone back.
But now you're getting the funds.
I understand.
I mean, I don't mind taking heat for my decisions,
Mm-hmm.
but I was asked to bring this up.
Correct. And like I said, all I can do is take it back to, our administration as well as to our school board and express the desire. I'm thinking probably of the whole Board of Supervisors, but I'm not trying to speak for everybody. But, if that's the will of the Board of Supervisors, I'll gladly take it to, my bodies.
This is just me.
Okay,
I don't speak for nobody else.
that's fine.
I'm just making sure everybody knows that it was in the budget
Yes, sir.
for
it
them
was
to
it.
get that.
Correct. $3.4 million was in the budget.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Shepherd,
I don't have any questions.
Supervisor DeMonts,
I don't have any questions. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Supervisor Blevins,
Mr. Krantz, again, to follow along with Supervisor King there, the 1.7 million that was already budgeted in last school's year for the 3%, and I know that your board has not, as you just said, has not talked about that retroactive for that. Please explain to me again what these funds will do if they were set aside for the raises for the teachers and you're not
Well,
going to...
there's no fund set aside. Let's set that in the budget that was adopted in FY '21, included two main components to it. One had a 3% raise, which was $3.4 million. It also had VRS for some of our programs. The increase that we had in our VRS is $700,000. When the uncertainty associated with the pandemic took place, $6.9 million was set aside by the Board of Supervisors of the total funds adopted of $121 million. When we saw the revenues increase, which y'all had indicated as well, the 3.4 of the $6.9 million that was deferred, about 4.1 million was released back to the school operating funds. So at that point, if you look at my revenue, I was sitting here asking for over $4 million. I see a drop, so there wasn't a match, okay? And with all the pandemic, and excuse me, it's just, this bothers me talking, I apologize. With all the pandemic, I've used operating funds to cover us. With the money that the school system got, the ESSER 1 funds, that's a straight reimbursement. That didn't come out of like CRF. Those come only from a straight reimbursement. Same thing with the FEMA funds. So I've had a funding source, and our expenditures just on COVID-19 is well in excess of $4 million.
And how much did the school board get for the CARES second?
We received 1.5 million in CARES 1. We received 1.73 in CRF. We received 500,000 from the county in CRF. We're waiting on our FEMA reimbursement, which I'm glad to say they've approved 100 cents on the dollar. And then ESSER 2 has not been released yet. And ESSER 2 will be 6.047. But ESSER 2's already been committed for us to do summer school. Summer school will be about $2.5 million out of that. You also have the one-to-one on the Chromebooks, which is not a funded line item, never has been in the school system. And it was expanded this year so that the K-2 program received those Chromebooks. So now we have to get that into a line that can be done. The other thing that has to be done is the significant thing with COVID is the ventilation systems. Many of the school buildings here are starting to get of age, where they're in the 20-plus years. Their ventilation systems are definitely at a breaking point. We have a study that's being completed as we speak, and I'm fairly certain that the dollar amount to address just ventilation in schools will far exceed the $6 million total that came in ESSER 2. So to answer your question, right now, today, without, and until the governor adopts his budget, I'm still $2 million short. Until that budget gets adopted and the no-loss funding of $2.3 million gets released, as well as in the release of what was deferred at the county level, I don't have the funds to do a raise.
any additional money. So if I get all of the revenues that we had projected, and if everything works out the way it is, then Mr. King's exactly right. We budgeted $3.4 million of new expenses. To date, I haven't gotten all of the 3.4. But yes, we've only did the raise from January 1st, so my actual expense should only be about 1.7 million. And that's the 1.7 that Mr. King is referring to, that theoretically, if everything's right, should be part of our year-end funds, that, you know, something could be done with.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Supervisor Bone.
No questions, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Chair Biggs.
I don't have any questions. I think, you know, it was pretty clear during all the discussions about the way the board felt about trying to equalize salaries for the school employees also. So I think that the school board is aware of that. But thank you for coming.
Well, I think they're very much aware, Ms.
Yeah.
Biggs. It's just not been a
Yeah.
formal discussion item, so I don't know what's the will of all the parties.
Yeah, because it was brought up many times. Thank you, though.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
being here.
And I don't have any questions. I think you've pretty much answered everything that I had. So thank you for
Thank you very
coming
much.
in.
Daryl does. Daryl.
Oh,
I've got one,
okay, sorry.
or just an explanation, I guess, more than anything, and an explanation or a statement from me. So the funding for the CARES Act funding that you're getting ready to get, the 6.1 million, you said part of that was already spent for summer school,
That's the plan, yes, sir.
and 4 million of that is for maintenance on air handling.
The 2.5 million is for summer school, $2 million is for Chromebooks, the difference is for ventilation system.
Okay, because I thought you were saying 4 million for the ventilation systems, and I know since I've been on the board, we've been very adamant about keeping the maintenance up on those buildings because we knew they were old. So
But I mean, I'll give you, for example, Kips Elementary, both the roof and the ventilation systems are both ready to crash. And they're both at the 21-year mark.
Okay.
Are there any other follow-up questions?
The word crash doesn't bode well among the Board of Supervisors. Could you explain that?
It's things that have reached the point that they need to be addressed sooner than later. The days of deferring, for example, like a KIPS, is becoming more and more of a challenge. It's time at this point that spending dollars trying to do repairs generates no return on one's investment. So that's when I say a crash, that's what, I mean, it's at a point now.
It's not imminent, though.
I mean,
Don't maintain it. If we
You're
maintain
not,
it.
you're not speaking of a
No, you're
physical
you're not
crash.
talking about a physical crash. We're talking about the
If we're
failure of an
clarifying.
operating system
Yes.
that, would generate some issues.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, no follow-up?
I would just add that ventilation is really, really, really super, super important because you guys have heard me talk about this before with the whole COVID thing. So I'm really, really glad that you're looking at that whole picture for all the buildings.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank, and I know that y'all don't have an unlimited pot of money, so let me say that on the front end. Nobody does.
Good.
And the prior administrations all have done the best they can with what they have. It's just, we're gonna try to take advantage of the dollars that are there, that we can get a head start on some projects that, honestly, there's a lot of people, a lot of dollars in the school system trying to have needs that are far greater than the dollars that are available. So I understand that quite well, and I'm not trying to pressure you or imply anything, by the exact opposite. Y'all have been upfront with me. I think I've been very upfront with y'all. You've been very honest with me, so, I'm not trying in any way to imply anything. You have a very difficult job, and you got my utmost respect for doing it, so. Thank y'all very much.
Okay, he's going once, he's going twice, he's gone. All right, our next item up is reports.
You need to vote.
Got to vote on
Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh, that was a long session, wasn't it?
it. Motion.
Makes you forget where you're at. Thought I was in my living room. Is there a motion?
Motion.
We already had a motion.
Motion and second,
Sorry.
we just need to vote.
Madam Secretary, bail me out.
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Blevins?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Guzekowski?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Now we're into reports. Our county attorney.
I have no report tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'll have to wait till next meeting. Our county administrator.
Thank you, sir. I'll be brief. I want to thank everyone again for your time on Saturday, January 30th, to spend time talking about some of the longer-term issues that face the county in the months and years ahead. We are working diligently on the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. When Supervisor King said last year a minute ago, this is that time of year when somebody says budget, we say, which one are you talking about? Last year, this year, or next year? Because we're kind of dealing with all of them right now. But 3 weeks from tonight, back in this room, we'll be presenting the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget. I don't know that we're going to be quite as giddy about it as we were about this time last year, but we'll be here for that. In good news items, though, I did want to mention, and Jen had made me aware of this last month, and I had failed to pass along the attaboy. The county received 5 awards. Jen, remind me what PRSA stands for again. I wrote it down and then forgot it. Public Relations Society of America. The county received 5 awards back in January. We received 3 silver awards for our rescuing Shadow, for sharing a new logo and brand identity with employees, and for the NRV Public Health Task Force. And then we received 2 gold awards for On the Job with Animal Control and Meet Montgomery County Animal Control. These were programs that Public Information coordinated with various departments in the county to get these done, and that was quite an accomplishment. And in the midst of everything, we didn't give out a proper attaboy. So thanks to Jen and her staff for working on that. And other than budget and trying to get us to the 1st of March, that's about all I know this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go down the list, starting with Supervisor DeMotts.
This is a very rare night for me, but I have no report. I'm exceptionally quiet tonight. You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Supervisor Shepherd.
I just want to try to clarify my comments to Mr. Krantz, and I think it was before he came on board with Montgomery County, but we had some serious discussions about maintenance for the schools and keeping those up so that we didn't get into a situation where we're almost ready to crash. So that's kind of where my thinking was. Sometimes my words all get fumbled up, but anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Blevins.
Yes, first of all, I want to address and thank all of the speakers that came out tonight. I'm going to move this so you can hear me. In support of Sheriff Parton and our fine men and women in the Sheriff's Department, and in fact, all law enforcement agencies and men and women that take a sworn oath to protect and serve. I, for myself, have complete trust and confidence in Sheriff Parton and his police department. And I am a little in an age where law enforcement seems to be constantly attacked. I am proud of this board that has, through our action, shown that we do completely support our Montgomery Sheriff's Department and our sheriff. And we've done so by a resolution of opposing qualified immunity. We've done so by the CARES Act of giving our sworn officers the COVID relief. And so just wanted to publicly say that we do support Sheriff Parton. I completely trust and have confidence in him. And I do for all of the police officers in this county, both towns, Christiansburg, Blacksburg, and VT, Virginia Tech. These men and women dedicate and sacrifice every day for us, for our citizens. And I just wanted to tell you how much I support our police and law enforcement. Being a wife of a police officer, they serve, they take that oath, and I just want to let everybody know how proud we are of our Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Supervisor King.
Well, I'd like to thank all the speakers that come out tonight and taking time away from your family to come over here and express your opinions about the Sheriff's Department. One thing I'd like to say about the Sheriff's Department is they're committed people, men and women. Men and women. As one of the speakers says, they don't ask what you're a Democrat or Republican, they're just there. One thing I would like to say is I interact with the Sheriff's Department a lot, being on first responder. They're very professional. There's nothing they wouldn't do for anybody here in Montgomery County. Matter of fact, they've been out of the county helping other localities. And I've said several occasions here, I appreciate and I support the Sheriff's Department. I appreciate Chief Wilson in Blacksburg, Chief Mark Sisson here in Christiansburg. I mean, I'd like to call all of us friends. But one thing I'd like to say, get out and know these men and women that protect you. If you see them somewhere, talk to them. Because bad things happen in other localities in other states. It don't happen here in Montgomery County. This is why this is a wonderful place to live, work, and raise your children. Montgomery County's growing. We're over 100,000 people now. That's why everybody wants to come here. It's because Montgomery County citizens and their law enforcement work together. And one more time, Sheriff, I'd like to tell you how much I appreciate you, your men and women in your office. I appreciate Chief Sisson and Chief Wilson, their men and women in their office. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Supervisor Bone.
I want to congratulate Jen and her staff on all those awards. Pretty awesome. Congratulations. Way to go, Montgomery County. I also want to thank our staff because I can only imagine how hard you're working on the budget and all the hours you're putting in on top of everything else that you're doing. So thank you very much. I also want to make a shout out to Michael Gary and thank him for his service as he heads out to do his Army Reserve commitment. You're outstanding, Michael, and we very much appreciate everything that you've done for us, especially with the task force. And we wish you the best as you serve. Thank you. I, too, also would like to share my support for Sheriff Parton. I've never had any issue whatsoever with Sheriff Parton, and he's always been very supportive of my requests, as well as conversations that we've had. In addition, his deputies and all of his staff have done an outstanding job as far as I'm concerned. I stand behind the fact that I think he made a good call in the way that he stated when he was asked, how he stated his response. And I thank you for that, Sheriff Parton. And I'm grateful that you are the leader of our Sheriff's Department. So thank you very much. And I appreciate the speakers coming out this evening to share your perspectives. And I would agree with most all of what you've said. So thank you.
Vice Chair Biggs.
Echoing the congratulations on the awards and congratulations to Supervisor Blevins on completing the VACO course. I want to talk a little bit about public safety and our Sheriff's Department. Going back through all my service on the board, which is 26 years, I've always supported the Sheriff's Department and the deputies. And one of the things that really meant a lot to me, and I know former Supervisor Spradlin was there April 16th. We had a meeting the same day that everything happened at Virginia Tech. and to see the sheriff's department, the police departments of Blacksburg and Christiansburg, and also to see the Virginia Tech Police, to see the state police coming in from everywhere, and to see how all that worked together. Public safety is one of the main reasons and one of the main things we do as supervisors. And you can see till this day that there's a real close working relationship. We're really blessed in this county to have the working relationship we do with all the police departments that we have. We've got 4. It was evident when we had the dialogue on race, when we had the, I guess, the public meeting down in Blacksburg after things had happened. And it's very evident in the New River Valley Public Health Task Force work that's been going on. Everyone's working together. And so I think if you look back over the board members that are present here today and the board members of the past, we've always supported the sheriff's department, and that includes Sheriff Parton's department. And so that would be what I would like to say on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Except I'd like to add one thing.
Okay.
I don't look at public safety as a partisan issue. It's not a partisan issue. And I would agree with one of the speakers. When you call on a police officer, I don't care where they're from, they're not about your politics. They're there to help you in your time of need. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and lay on a little bit more. Let's get this thing really thick here. We are really blessed in this county to have 2 outstanding chiefs of police and an outstanding sheriff. We count on their leadership, and they demonstrate their leadership every day. They know what their departments are up to. They know what their people are doing. And it is sad that if some citizens are concerned and that every time something happens in this country, then we have to vet all our police officers or all our soldiers in the country to make sure that they are all in line with the proper thinking. That's going to be a dangerous, dangerous road. I don't ever want to go there, and I don't think we ever need to go there because, as everybody on this board has stated, we trust our sheriff's office. We know they're doing the right thing. So we do not question that. We know that if there was an issue, it would be taken care of. So we really are supportive. We'll remain supportive until we see otherwise, which I do not think will ever happen. On top of that, I also want to congratulate our treasurer and our deputy treasurer. Both have attained Master Governmental Treasurer certifications. So that's pretty good news for our county. Also, I want to personally congratulate Supervisor Blevins on her award and the county for all of our recent awards that we just found out about. So it sounds like things are going pretty good here. That's, again, like I think somebody else mentioned, that's why everybody wants to move here. So with that said, I will go ahead and dismiss this meeting.